The inherent incompatibility between alphas is well documented. Yet I've foolishly pined for Ethan, a fellow alpha. 4 years. When the Murphy family fell into crisis, I capitalized on their misfortune, bankrolling their recovery while coercing Ethan into a marriage of convenience through underhanded terms. For years, I'd fantasized about this moment. Yet even after capturing my elusive prize, I dare not touch him. The man I'd idolized as perfection shattered this illusion when discovering I'd sought comfort from high-compatibility omega during hormonal instability. Ethan revealed his true nature, shackling me to our bedroom with cold steel. "You prefer omegas?" His breath ghosted over my ear. "Then I'll just have to turn you into my omega." At midnight sharp, my phone lit up with an anniversary reminder. I tossed the dice and silenced the screen, tucking it away as floral notes teased my senses. A doe-eyed omega pressed a drink to my lips, my losing penalty. I drank from his hands but turned my face from his lingering touch. The private room door swung open. There stood Ethan, elegant as ever, exchanging pleasantries with the birthday honoree. Candlelight caressed his aristocratic profile. Breathtaking even after weeks apart, my husband in name only. He'd always been society's darling, even during his family's downfall. Countless suitors lined up to assist. My victory felt hollow now as his gaze slid past me to linger on the omega at my side. Instinctively, I shifted to block his view. For 2 years, we'd maintained this farcical marriage through mutual neglect. His polite indifference I could endure. His sudden interest in others ignited something primal. Ethan wasn't due back until tomorrow. His premature return became clear when the door reopened. My apologies, flight delays. The familiar baritone froze my hand mid-reach. Of course, Alex, Ethan's first love, had returned. The reunited pair became the room's new nucleus. Time had refined Alex's beauty. His omega allure matured into devastating elegance. Seated beside Ethan's half-concealed profile, they formed a picture-perfect pairing. I drained my second glass. The omega beside me refilled it eagerly. Now I studied him properly, chestnut waves framing delicate features, attentive without desperation, far more agreeable than any alpha. Chris seems taken with tonight's omega. Someone unaware of my marriage quipped. I sipped my drink. Efficient service. Observant. Enough with the HR evaluation. My friend scoffed. This isn't a job interview. I smiled without answering, letting the conversation shift. The liquor's burn couldn't scorch away Ethan's lingering glance across the room, nor the memory of chains biting my wrists. As our gazes inadvertently met, Ethan's calm, unreadable eyes sent an unexpected flutter of unease through me. After the event concluded, I watched Ethan depart alongside Alex. Old flames reunited, naturally, had much to discuss. A bitter smile touched my lips as I turned away. Footsteps unsteady. The omega from earlier trailed after me hesitantly. Pausing, I succinctly clarified my lack of romantic interest. "Mr. Cooper." The omega persisted with newfound boldness. "I can be accommodating in other ways." Alcohol slowed cognition, delayed my comprehension of his implication. As I prepared to reject him again, Ethan reappeared from around the corner. "Planning to stay the night here, Chris?" The formal address extinguished my fleeting joy at his return. "No." I shook my head. "Then let's leave together." Finding a driver at this hour would be difficult. His suggestion caught me off guard. "What about Alex?" I blurted. Ethan's brow furrowed slightly. "I sent him home with my driver." Of course, his moral compass would never permit marital infidelity. "You're driving. You didn't drink?" "No alcohol," he replied, an enigmatic smile playing on his lips. No one insisted on serving me drinks. The smile disoriented me further, and I followed him to the car without protest. His familiar pheromones enveloped me in the vehicle. Alcohol-loosened inhibitions let me briefly indulge in the scent. "Remember today's significance?" Ethan's question startled me. "Vincent's birthday." I answered automatically. The atmosphere sharpened suddenly, his pheromones turning edged. Was this about his first love returning today? Before I could ask, Ethan turned away, effectively ending conversation. The realization struck like physical pain. Today also marked our second wedding anniversary, if such technicalities still mattered. Silence prevailed until we reached home. Separate bedrooms, established early in our marriage due to incompatible schedules and alpha pheromone aversion, maintained our polite coexistence as near strangers under one roof. A knock interrupted my post-shower respite. Ethan stood in the doorway, holding a steaming bowl. Soft hallway lighting lending uncharacteristic warmth to his features. Herbal remedy for the hangover you'll regret otherwise. The domestic scene felt surreal. His gentle tone almost hypnotic. Thank you, I stammered, accepting the offering. His lips curved, best consumed warm. I drained the bitter liquid obediently, retrieving the empty bowl. Ethan's smile deepened with undefined satisfaction. Good boy. The comment left me stunned. By the time I collected myself, Ethan had already walked away, even towards a partner in name only. He remained so considerate and responsible. I collapsed back onto the bed, mentally comparing Ethan's kindness against my own petty actions until shame burned through me. Before I could dwell deeper, my vision blurred and I drifted into uneasy sleep. In the haze of dreams, memories surfaced. During high school, Ethan had been the golden boy, top grades, striking looks, constantly surrounded by admirers. As the perpetual runner-up living in his shadow, I'd grown hyper-aware of him through my parents' endless comparisons. Without realizing, my gaze began seeking him out in crowds. That casual admiration somehow twisted into full-blown infatuation. Though I knew two alphas could never work. Especially not when Alex existed their matching family statuses. Shared interests and rumored high pheromone compatibility made them society's perfect couple. I maintained careful distance, never overstepping. After graduation, our tenuous connection snapped completely. Years later, we reunited under starkly different circumstances, the fallen golden boy abandoned by his perfect match. While others mocked, I became the worst kind of opportunist, leveraging financial aid to his family into coercing marriage. A depraved alpha dragging another into this twisted farce, utterly shameless. The dream shifted. Someone tugged at my blankets, nuzzling my sink gland. Warm breath ghosted over my neck as teeth grazed warningly against my pulse. Familiar alpha pheromones, not my own, clouded my senses into pliant submission. Deft hands explored with clinical detachment. Ringing choked gasps from me, so responsive to my touch, came the mocking murmur against my skin. Do omegas even register for you? The dream's cruel absurdity should have repelled me. Yet I drowned willingly in its false intimacy. I woke rubbing my temples. 11:07 a.m. glared from my phone. My military-grade internal clock had never failed me before. Downstairs, the sight of Ethan adjusting his wristwatch in the living room froze me mid-step. Our eyes met. Awake? He asked. I fumbled with my pajama hem. Yeah. The silence thickened. I need to go out soon, he added. My initial joy curdled. Not that we'd ever celebrate anniversaries, but even sharing empty space on this date would have been enough. Yet once again, reality dashed the feeble hope. I wanted to call out to him, but couldn't find a reason or position to do so. All I managed was a stiff, okay, watching his retreating figure as I forced down the bitter ache in my chest. Don't push your luck. Don't get your hopes up. I repeated the warning like a mantra. Abandoning breakfast and too restless for sleep, I sat motionless on the couch as vertigo from earlier resurfaced. This spreading fever was all too familiar, another flare up on my chronic hormonal imbalance disorder. The usual double dose of medication did nothing this time. After tripling the pills brought no relief, I dialed Benjamin Parker, my physician friend. He found me unconscious in the living room and rushed me to the hospital. When I awoke hours later, Ben pressed a palm to my forehead. "Impressive you managed to dial before overdosing." He sneered. "Next time just call the funeral home directly. Streamlines the process." Forced a smile. "Got any recommendations?" "Quit joking." He gripped my collar. Jaw clenched. "Keep neglecting treatment, and I won't guarantee you'll see 30. I did the math. My sham marriage to Ethan would likely crumble before then anyway. 2 fewer years of suffering sounds fair. Ben's knuckles whitened. "You think this is fucking funny?" Abruptly releasing me, he changed tack. "Heard Alex is back stateside." The name hit like a physical blow. "Yes. If they rekindle things." Ben hesitated. "For once, could you choose yourself?" Even my closest friend expected Ethan to return to Alex. The dull ache in my chest sharpened. "I know I mean nothing to you." "Chris." Ben continued quietly. "But I'm begging, show yourself some mercy." Sobering. I met his gaze. "You're my oldest friend." Ben. "That's never been in question." After weighted silence, I relented. "Fine. Let's try your treatment plan." Ben's visible relief made me reconsider. Perhaps survival wasn't worthless after all. True to form, Ben immediately arranged a consultation with a high-compatibility Omega. The man moved with leonine grace, his tailored suit accentuating a lean frame. Up close, his faint smile carried understated authority. "Mr. Cooper, I'm Nate Carter." This wasn't some cash-strapped medic. My jaw tightened. We were courting complications. Catching my glare, Ben feigned innocence. "Tests first. Let's run the diagnostics." As we began evaluations, I studied Nate's impassive expression. Whatever game this Carter Air was playing, I need to stay 3 moves ahead. The treatment scope is quite broad, primarily requiring exposure to the calming pheromones of an Omega. This includes, but isn't limited to, embraces, kissing, and even marking. Nathaniel Carter smiled faintly. "I'm open to all options, depending on Christopher's needs." I chuckled lightly. "No marking. Simple physical contact should suffice for the therapy. As for compensation," I tapped my glass. "Let's hear your terms directly." "Nate, I've always preferred straightforwardness. Alex has returned stateside." Nate didn't hesitate. "I need the Cooper family's backing to maintain my position within the Thompson household." It suddenly clicked. He was Thompson's adopted son, Alex's nominal older brother. Their notorious sibling rivalry explained his urgency. How ironic, while Alex immediately clung to Ethan upon returning. His brother approached me. This promised to be entertaining. I sipped my tea, agreeing to the terms. After finalizing details, I drove Nate home before heading back. The clock neared midnight when I arrived. Uncertain if Ethan had returned, I moved quietly out of habit. Flipping the foyer light on, I froze. There he was, Ethan, still in daytime attire, lounging where I'd last seen him hours earlier. The scene mirrored our morning encounter, save for the wilted rose bouquet at his feet. Must have arrived hours ago. I noted silently. He glanced over. Late night? Heading up. I fought to ignore the decaying flowers, mentally cataloging who might have sent them. Caleb? The thought churned my stomach as I moved toward the stairs. What kind of social engagement keeps you out this late on a weekend? Uncharacteristic curiosity laced his question. I couldn't ignore him, nor mention the hospital visit. Just meeting a friend. He closed the distance, studying me intently. Important friend? Though puzzled by his behavior, I nodded. A humorless laugh escaped him before he stormed upstairs. I followed, confusion simmering. That night, the strange dreams returned with violent urgency. Phantom teeth grazed my neck as a familiar voice growled, smelling like some stranger's Omega pheromones. Care to explain this important friend? Morning revealed a single sterile text. Business trip. Back in 3 days. Our thread could pass for corporate memos. Truthfully, our actual relationship wasn't much warmer. Lately, Ethan had become increasingly busy with frequent business trips. Our last meeting at a mutual friend's birthday party marked our first encounter in nearly a month. Rereading his message, I suddenly wondered, was he working this hard to avoid me? When the Murphy family business teetered on bankruptcy, my investments and partnerships had barely kept it afloat. Yet within 2 years of Ethan taking over, the company showed signs of regaining its former glory. This transaction-based relationship would likely end soon. As I pondered this, Ben sent me a screenshot of Alex's social media post, telling to the parents, "Serves Ethan right for overworking me all this time." The attached photo showed Alex dining with the Murphys. The lavish spread in the table showcased hospitality I'd never received. Early in our marriage, Ethan had taken me to meet his parents out of courtesy, though Mr. and Mrs. Murphy maintained polite facades. Their disapproval hung thick in the air. As we left, I overheard Mrs. Murphy ask, "When will you file for divorce?" Ethan replied calmly, "After the company stabilizes." "Good." She sighed in relief. "Make sure to compensate him generously when the time comes." "I will." I didn't want compensation. I wanted Ethan's love. But that fantasy would forever remain out of reach. I fled that day, fabricating busy schedules to avoid future family gatherings. Returning to the present, I stared at the cheerful group photo. Even Ethan wore a faint smile, softer than the icy expressions he reserved for me. Ben followed up, "Heads up, meeting the parents usually means reconciliation. Cut your losses." Cut my losses? I'd always pushed my limits. But perhaps restraint served better now. Seeing their happy family tableau, I contemplated divorce for the first time in 2 years. I'd planned to cling until Ethan initiated separation. But maybe self-respect demanded different. Action followed thought. By afternoon, I'd emailed Ethan the drafted divorce papers. "Review these terms. Suggest any additions. I'll mail hard copies for your signature when finalized." Exhausted from maintaining composure all day, I collapsed onto bed awaiting reply. Hours passed without response, likely preoccupied with his companion. I powered off my phone, but my heat cycle struck with brutal suddenness. Messaging Ben to reschedule my hormone therapy. I stumbled toward the clinic. He protested my unstable condition, but relented after insisting on enhanced suppressants. The nearby appointment location minimized risks. Yet the medical team had clearly waited when I arrived. "My apologies for the delay. Enough already." Ben stepped forward to steady me. "You're apologizing when you almost died?" He quickly administered an inhibitor shot. Nate silently released pheromones nearby to calm me. Ben hesitated before finally advising, "If it gets unbearable, seek some physical contact. Don't push yourself." I nodded. After finishing his instructions, Ben left the room. I fought against alpha instincts triggered by the high-compatibility omega, desperately suppressing the restlessness. Observing this, Nate spoke slowly. "I'm open to temporary marking." I shook my head. "Not necessary." He smiled knowingly. "Chris truly maintains impeccable self-restraint." I admitted my current reluctance to touch Nate partly stemmed from consideration for Ethan, though this was merely respect for my marital partner. As for him, he probably wouldn't care at all. Closing my eyes, I let the conversation drop. About 40 minutes later, my pheromone levels stabilized. Ben gruffly finished listing precautions before leaving without looking back. Securing my suppression bracelet, I exited the building. At the street corner stood Nate, who'd left earlier with Ben, clearly waiting. "Something wrong?" I continued walking. The blond man smiled faintly. "Let's discuss compensation." "Chris, what do you need?" "The Thompson family's hosting a banquet next week. I'd like you to attend as my partner. By now, Ethan had probably reviewed the divorce papers. By that time, we should have dissolved our marital union. Nodding agreement, I watched Nate express thanks before driving off. The short walk home did little to ease the dull ache in my chest. Nearing my residence, I froze. The man consuming my thoughts materialized before me. Ethan's glacial stare pinned me. Why are you here? Am I unwelcome? His voice could frost glass. Or perhaps you should first explain why you reek of omega pheromones. Alex materialized from somewhere, raising an eyebrow mockingly as if anticipating drama. Ethan shot him a warning look. Alex sobered and approached me. He abruptly stiffened, nostrils flaring. Your sin. He must have recognized his brother's pheromones. Perspiration dampened my palms. Should I disclose my condition? Nate, before I could decide, Alex murmured. Deceptively calm tones veiled volcanic fury. Ethan moved between us. Control your pet. Alex spat out the words before storming off. Baffled by the confrontation, yet sensing imminent danger, I remained rooted. He was undoubtedly heading straight for Nate. Everyone was here to assist with my treatment. There was no reason for Alex to endure his brother's unwarranted anger. I tried to stop Ethan, but he yanked me back violently. Can't even save yourself. Yet you worry about others. He sneered. He pushed me onto the bed after dragging me into the room. The sterile ceiling lights cast shadows across Ethan's face as he loomed over me, his eyes glinting with something dark. A primal chill shot down my spine, making me shrink backward. Ethan grabbed my ankle and dragged me toward him. How dare you mention divorce? His pheromones crashed over me like a tidal wave, fogging my mind. Wait, I pressed a trembling hand against his chest. Don't come closer. My recent medical treatment left me too fragile for this. He silenced me with a cloth gag. Lips grazing my ears, he hissed. You'll sneak off to meet an omega. But refuse me? His teeth scraped my bonding gland. If you hated alphas, why provoke me in the first place? A humorless laugh escaped him. Prefer omegas? Huh? His grip tightened. Then I'll just have to make you mine. I woke parched, my head pounding and bonding gland swollen. Footsteps echoed through the empty suite, deliberate, predatory taps of dress shoes on hardwood. Ethan reappeared holding a glass of water, all traces of last night's frenzy replaced by polished charm. Thirsty? He pressed the rim to my lips. Let me help. I can. My hoarse protest died as he tilted the glass forcefully. Water spilled down my neck, soaking through my shirt. Such a waste. He murmured, echoing last night's taunt. Before I could react, he fisted my hair and bit my lower lip hard enough to draw blood. I shoved him away, glaring. My apologies for last night's lapse. Ethan straightened his cufflinks, every inch the composed CEO. Alpha's forcing bonds? Unnatural. A mistake. My throat burned. What? Your divorce request. He loomed over the bed, voice icy. I'll sign it. The door clicked shut behind him. He wasn't leaving for Alex. This chasm between us? Two alphas defying biology. No fixing it. Fine. I rasped to the empty room. Sign it then. Yet when silence stretched without the finality of a slamming door, I couldn't bring myself to look. I looked up, tears unexpectedly slipping down my cheeks. Ethan cupped my face, his cool fingertips brushing over my swollen eyelids. What are you crying for? The single syllable hung in the air before being interrupted by a phone ring. Ben's name flashed on the screen. I strained to reach it, but Ethan snatched my phone first. Anxiety tightened my throat. Ben must have called multiple times last night. He'll worry if I don't respond. Ethan glanced down at me, tone matter of fact. I'll contact him for you. Don't. Fear of Ben revealing my illness made me lunge forward, only to be yanked back by the chain around my ankle. helpless. I watched Ethan stride out with my phone. That's when I noticed the iron collar locked around my leg, its chain secured to the bed frame. So this was why he hadn't left after I mentioned divorce. He'd planned to shackle me here from the beginning. But why? My body felt like collapsing after last night's ordeal. As darkness crept into my vision again, Ethan burst through the door. His porcelain complexion tinged gray. He unfastened the chain and swept me into his arms, marching toward the exit. Nestled against his chest, my consciousness flickered. Before blacking out, I felt scalding droplets fall on my face. My hormonal imbalance disorder was congenital. It meant my lifelong partner could only be a highly compatible omega or beta. The condition lay dormant until our wedding night when Ethan and I, after hospital tests, I'd suggested separate bedrooms. How could I risk intimacy with an alpha when even low compatibility omegas posed danger? Divorce crossed my mind, but fresh capital had just stabilized the Murphy empire. Guilt over trapping Ethan in this marriage kept me distant. Our first year passed in strained civility. The second year brought worsening symptoms whose cause eluded doctors until Ben revealed the truth during my recovery. Ethan used pheromones on you. He nearly killed you with that stunt. Ben fumed, pacing my hospital room. What kind of monster does that? I stayed silent. Ethan hadn't known about my condition. Now it didn't matter. He vanished after that fateful day. My searches turned up empty. The night before the Thompson Gala, I called Nate. The line connected after multiple rings. Nate, I can't pretend to be your date tomorrow. Why, yes, understood. His voice sounded wrecked, syllables fracturing. Good boy. A dominant male voice cut through before the call died. I massaged my temples, refusing to dwell on whatever was happening between Nate and Alex. 4 weeks later, I found Ethan waiting at my doorstep after hospital discharge. He gripped my wrist. We need to talk. Inside, I faced him. What about? How's your health? Desperation shadowed his eyes. I'm sorry. I didn't know about your condition. Can you forgive me? It's stabilized. I stared at our reflection in the glass patio door. I should have disclosed my medical history. The fault isn't entirely yours. His gaze ignited with fragile hope. Then, but you're right. Two alphas shouldn't define nature to be together. I cut him off. Since you're back now, let's sign the divorce papers. His voice trembled urgently. That was nonsense I spouted when we were fighting. I never wanted us to separate. But it's the truth, isn't it? You can't do this to me. His eyes reddened at the corners as he whispered hoarsely. You can't abandon me. I remained silent. As long as this condition existed between us, we could never truly love each other. Better to make a clean break now. Tears spilled as he ducked his head to wipe them. Following his movement, I noticed the pristine white bandage wrapped around his neck. Why the bandage? I reached out. Ethan startled, hastily retreating. Yet his tone stayed unnervingly calm. Nothing. Just had a gland removed. The words struck like thunder. My entire body went cold. Why? Why would you do that? Was it for me? To be with me at such cost? Suddenly I understood the depth of his feelings. Ethan acted oblivious, clumsily changing subjects. Can we not divorce? All right. He froze, clearly unprepared for agreement. Not because of the gland removal, right? This was my choice. You don't owe me, no. I smiled through tears. Not because he mutilated himself, but because he loved me. Because I love you. Those 3 words, spanning the gulf of my youth, finally found voice. Ethan stammered, the usually composed man now trembling like an infatuated teenager. You're not lying, are you? Roles reversed. The puppeteer became the supplicant. At my confirmation, radiant joy illuminated his features. Ethan's perspective Marrying Chris happened as unexpectedly as my family's financial crisis. Truthfully, I didn't recognize him at first. Why would an alpha seek marriage with another alpha? When I questioned him, he laid out pragmatic reasons with clinical precision before adding softly, "Consider it alumni camaraderie." Chris should have returned to City A tomorrow afternoon per his business itinerary. There were better candidates. Yet when confronted with those earnest hazel eyes, I inexplicably agreed. Later I regretted this madness, wedding another alpha. Yet having married, I intended to honor marital duties. That first night, seeing him stiffly formal in his suit, blushing tips of ears betraying nervousness, I felt unfamiliar stirrings. But when I tried to bridge the distance, he suddenly burned with fever, lips bloodless. I rushed him to the hospital, keeping vigil till dawn. The emergency call from my assistant came as morning light filtered in. Seeing him stabilized, and knowing his attending physician was his close friend Ben, after entrusting Ethan to someone else, I rushed to the office. But that day, when I returned home after handling company matters, he coldly announced he wanted to sleep in separate rooms. I thought he hadn't adjusted to married life yet and nodded in agreement. Since then, his attitude toward me grew increasingly distant. At first, I still felt resentful, but could only console myself, perhaps this was better, avoiding emotional attachment that might complicate divorce later. Yet that initial spark of longing quietly took root in my heart. Each time I saw Ethan, it grew stronger. Someone who rarely falls in love needs only one encounter to carve memories deep within. Clueless about how to proceed, I threw myself into work, striving to bridge the gap between us, desperate for his acknowledgement. Outwardly composed, my desires festered daily while he remained oblivious. My emotional dysfunction worsened in this relationship. What had been manageable spiraled out of control when I witnessed him drinking from a stranger Omega's glass. He started this. Now he'll endure every consequence.